Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the introduction to XBT 3.0. XBT is short for External Backup Tool, a piece of software which I have been developing for quite some time. Those of you who follow the channel are probably already familiar with XBT. You might even be using XBT, and if you are, I hope you'll go and get the latest version and install it, because there are a lot of little fixes and a lot of little feature adds here, stuff going on in the background to make the program more stable. And we also install XBT differently now and manage it in a slightly different way. So if you are new to the channel, new to XBT, I'm really glad you're here. Kick back and relax. You'll learn how this piece of software works. XBT is designed to make doing really accurate backups of your Linux system's user data stupid easy, because once you install it and get it up and running, it's really just a matter of a couple of clicks and pushing a couple of keys, and you are sure to have really good backups. So let's go ahead and jump into the process of getting XBT installed. I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to do this in an Ubuntu Mate 1804 virtual machine today, but it really doesn't matter. XBT runs happily on Ubuntu 1604 and up, Linux Mint 18.x and up, and it will also work nicely on Debian 9. I've tested it on MX Linux. I've tested it on Linux Mint's Debian Edition 3 Cindy. It works fine there as well, and I think it will work on any derivative of Debian or Ubuntu that you might happen to be using. It also can be adapted to work on other distributions, but that's something you're going to have to take care of yourself. So go to easylinux.com. That is the page that you want to go to, and look for bash scripts right here. And scroll down. Now look for XBT. It's pretty close to the top. Right now this section is talking about XBT 2.3 because that was the latest version up until today. And there's a video here that's the introduction to XBT 2.0. Most likely by the time you get here that will have changed. But what we want to look at today, this link right here, is really what we need to go to. So we want to save the file. Just makes it easier. If you just open the file, it doesn't work the way it should. So make sure that you save that. And once that is downloaded, which should only take a couple of seconds, it's really a very tiny file, we want to navigate to our Downloads folder. And there it is. Double click to open that up. And you'll see that we have a directory in this archive. We want to go to there. And the file we are looking at is XBT _3.0.deb. This is our installer, so we want to put that on the desktop. And we go ahead and close this up because we don't need that no more. Now I believe that I have this set up to use GDebi for its deb package installer. Depending on what distribution you're on, you might get a different application. If you're on straight Ubuntu, you'll probably get the software application. It could be any number of things, but I think we're going to see GDebi. Yes, we are. And it's going to check it out. It's going to make sure that all the dependencies are met, and it's going to tell us so. So now we will install the package. Give it your password. Should only take it just a second or two to actually install it. It's a very small program. Go ahead and click that so it will close automatically. So XBT is now installed and ready to rock and roll. We can close that, and we should be able to find it in the menu. Let's just do a search here and see if it pops up. Yes, it's right there. And I'm going to make this bigger so it's easier for everybody to see, including me. I'll tell you what, we'll just go on and full screen that terminal. There we go. All right, so this is what it looks like when it's running. And right now you see that it says USB status, no XBT drive found. We need to give it a drive to work with. So I'm going to take a drive and plug it in the machine. And this drive that we're using, it couldn't be any USB drive that you would like. So it could be just a little USB stick like I have here, or it could be a big spinning drive, or even like an SSD. Whatever it is, like a Western Digital Passport is a really good option here. And the only thing is, you need to have a drive big enough to contain all of the data that is in your /home directory on all of the machines that you want to back up. In this case, we're just using this little drive because there's not going to be anything in the directory, home directory on this machine. And so we'll go ahead and connect this to the computer. We go to Devices, go to USB, and connect it like that. Since it's a virtual machine, we have to. And it may or may not open that up when it gets there. We'll give it just a second to figure that out. So let's see if it found the drive. To do that, just all you got to do is tap 6. And now it will refresh. And yes, it has found that there is a drive there. And this drive had something else on it before. So we want to make sure that it's ultra clean. So we're going to use the Setup XBT Drive option here. Now this will work with any USB drive that is under 2 terabytes. If you are using a drive larger than 2 terabytes, then you are going to have to do it manually. But it's really not hard, and I'll explain that at the end of the video and give you the very basic things that you need to know. So it's going to explain here that it's going to, it just explains what I just explained, and it's going to let you know that you're going to clear all the data on the drive, and do you really want to continue? And you say yes, and then type in your sudo password, and it gives you choices if you have more than one drive plugged in by USB. You want to make sure you get the right drive. That's absolutely for sure. It's probably a really good idea when you're doing this to only have the drive you want to use plugged in, but if there was more than one, it would notice that and it would give you the option. Now, one more time, we have to confirm by typing in yes in all caps and enter. And now it's going to format this drive. This will take a little while because it's going to actually write a whole lot of zeros to the drive to make sure that there are no old bootloaders, any remnants of any old partition tables or file systems. It's going to start from scratch to make sure that the drive is really clean. And this does take some time depending on how fast your USB bus is, whether you're using USB 2.0 or 3.0, and how fast the drive itself is. These little cheapy drives that I'm using, they're very slow. So if this is going to take a little while, we'll pause the video and we'll come back just as it's starting to get ready to be finished. Okay, the format is almost complete. And it's done now, and what we need to do is go ahead and remove the drive physically from the machine and wait a couple seconds, and now plug that back in, and the host is going to recognize it immediately, but I will need to connect it manually here. So now we have a brand new fresh XBT drive. Now you can't do anything with it until you do your first backup on that drive. So let's just go ahead and tap 6 and make sure that it found it. And it's ready to go. So we'll go ahead and do our first backup. Now since this is a virtual machine that only has a few little things, it'll only take a couple of seconds. But your first backup, if you have several gigabytes of data that has accumulated in your home directory, then guess what? It will take quite some time, especially if you have like several hundred gigabytes the first time around. But this shouldn't take long at all to do our first backup. So it's going through and it tells us what it's doing file by file, and it says the backup is successfully completed. If there is ever a situation where it runs into an error, it will actually loop back and try and do it again. So kind of keep an eye on it. Sometimes it will prompt you for your password once again. So that's in case it runs into any errors. And it'll do that about 2 times before it'll just say it did it, but it did it with errors. And I'll show you how to figure out what those errors are shortly. But most of the time you're going to see just what you see right here. And then it's syncing the drives at this point. This makes it okay for you to actually remove the backup drive. And you just pull it right out of the machine if you want to. You don't have to go through the desktop doing it. You might want to do that just to be extra safe, but right now you could pull it if you wanted to. So we have our first backup on the drive. So that is how the backup function works. Now let's look at restore, which is the next function. And this is only here for emergencies. So let's say that you end up in a situation where you need to get back to some known good state. You have just accidentally been playing around in the terminal on your Linux system and you've blown up your entire music collection. It's just gone. And you want to get back to something. Then you can use restore. So that is option 2. And it's going to make sure that you understand that you need to go ahead and close all the other application and anything that has been added to your home directory, any settings you've made, any emails you've gotten, anything at all, any files that you've saved, they're just going to go poof. But if you're totally messed up anyway and you just want to get back, then you say yes, and then you press any key to continue, close all the applications, and now it has done that. And of course, it only took it a couple of seconds because nothing's changed since the last time we did it. And so now it will exit the program, so we can now exit XBT. And I would strongly urge you to log in and log out at this point. So let's take a look here and see what we actually have on the XBT drive, because this is one of the things that makes XBT really cool, is that it stores the files in the open, which means that you can access them at any time simply by plugging the drive in and navigating to them. So it creates a directory on your XBT drive called XBT Backups, and then you'll have the name of the machine. This one is called Ubuntu Mate VM. And you'll see there's a log file over here, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. So if we click in here, we now have 2 directories. One of them is the etc directory, which is a place on your Linux system where a lot of your configuration files are stored. And it's really nice to have a backup of that. That can save your butt sometimes. Help you get back to a known good state. Especially if you have things like SSH configured with keys in it, then you can go get them from there. But here's the main place that you'll be looking, and that is your home directory. And you see that we have Joe in here, which is my personal user directory, and now we have all the information that's in there. So if I had more than one account on that machine, then that would be saved there as well. Now the log file you can open directly if you want to by using your text editor, and this is what it looks like. But in XBT we have a pretty neat feature that makes reading that log file actually a bit easier. So let's go ahead and open XBT back up since we closed it earlier. And once again, I'll just do a search for it. So we'll open up the program again. Let's make the terminal big one more time, make it easier for everybody to see, including me. We'll even full screen it, why not? So if you want to read that log with the XBT drive plugged in, then you just tap number 5, and now it's going to show you the log entries from newest to oldest going top down, which is really cool, and it'll only show you the last few. This is important because you might be doing this on multiple machines. And if you ever have any errors pop up, this is where you can tell what they are. And most of the time, when you do see errors, it'll be an rsync error, and it'll say something like a file has vanished, which just means that something changed from the time that you started the program till the time it finished, and it, for whatever reason, it will restart and do a second pass. It will do it again, XBT will, and it'll do it another time, and then if after 3 times it doesn't work, then it'll exit, and it'll just exit with errors. But it's still a pretty accurate backup. So we can go through some more of the different things in here. Of course, we have the help menu, so just press 4 to get that, and this is gives you kind of a basic rundown of how the program works. And right up here up top, you'll see that we have commands that you can run from a terminal. So XBT can be run in a terminal as a standalone application. So let me show you how that works real quick. So we've already pretty much gone through everything. We've viewed the backup log. We've gotten help. Q exits that. And then we can exit XBT by hitting 0. And now we'll just open up a terminal here. And I'll show you how to get to some of those commands, a couple of them here. So if you have your XBT drive plugged in and you know it's good to go, then and you want to do a backup real quick, you can do it like this. And just put the option -- backup XBT. It'll go out and do it. Now, what you're going to see here is this is going to whip by really, really fast. And the reason why is because once you do a backup, the next time around, all it's going to do is update what changed. XBT does not keep rolling backups. You can't. It's only one copy that's on that drive, but it is an exact snapshot of what is going on. So over time, you say you take one on Monday, you save some files on Tuesday, on Wednesday you add some pictures. If you do it again on Thursday, then it will get those saved files and put them there, and it will add those pictures. Now, the next time around, you may delete a few pictures, and you may add even more pictures, so it's going to reflect those changes, which means each time you do this, it only takes a couple of minutes. And the problem with rolling backups are they're confusing. If you just want to make sure that you can get back to a known good state, you want to know exactly what's going on, then really what you want is a snapshot. You can also run the restore function from the terminal. In this case, we're going to say no, and it went back to the menu. Just go ahead and get out of that. When you run XBT backup, it automatically dumps you back at a command line, and if you would run restore, it would also exit the program at the end. So we can also do from the terminal XBT log, and it will show us run the log program again. Now we have 2 entries because we ran it twice. Q exits, and we can get help from there as well. So if we go back here and just put in help, we're good to go. And that is the basics of XBT. Now you can do this on multiple systems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the drive we created, and I am going to actually plug in my main XBT drive that I use for all my systems. All right. And that should take a couple of seconds for the system to see that. There we go. So we want to put this in here, and in this case, this USB is a Western Digital drive that is in the system, and now it's hooked up. So I should do XBT backup from my terminal here, and it's going to put that back up on that drive. You notice this one's a lot faster because this is a real spinning drive and not just a little USB stick that I was demonstrating with. We'll take it a couple of seconds to sync up though. Alright, that is all done. And now if I go over here and we take a look, you'll see that we have more than one machine. These are all the machines that I have backups on this drive from. And if we do look at the log, go back over here once again. Now you'll see we've got a lot to look at because that log file, of course, has been used for quite some time. So that is the basics of how XBT works, and it's just really, really a cool program. I've been using it personally myself for a long time, and it has evolved over time. So the last thing that we want to talk about is if you have a drive bigger than 4 terabytes, what you want to do is create a partition with a Linux native file system on it. And that Linux native file system should be either ext4, that's preferred, or you could also use XFS if you wanted to. And the partition has to be labeled XBT Drive, capital X be in the same what you've been seeing so far. It's in the help. You can go look at that. And if you do that, the program will find that drive. That's what it's looking for, is a mounted partition labeled XBT drive on a USB drive. It looks for those two things, and that's how it knows what it's looking at. And it will automatically change the ownership and set that up the first time that you run it on a drive like that. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoy XBT 3.0. It really has come a long way. I want to say a big thank you to Jeremy O'Connell at CyberWeb Solutions, because he finally broke the barrier that I was having trying to figure out how to make deb packages. So he actually walked me through the process, and I now can do it. So thank you very much, Jeremy. That's why XBT 3.0 is out today. Also, your feedback is always welcome. Please be sure to give Easy Linux a like on Facebook if you're a Facebook user. Check out Easy Linux on the web. Of course, you're going to do that if you're going to download the program. Also, check out Easy Talk, which is our new forum, which is just taken off, and it's really awesome, so you can join the conversation there. Also, check out freedompenguin.com for more info about Linux from contributors such as myself. That is a very nice place to go. And links to all of these places will be in the description to the video. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.